I go home with all these, well, first of all, let me just say at this point, I had bought my first house, y'all. So I had literally by myself, I was a homeowner, like on my own. I had bought my own house and I was living by myself. So, yeah, they told me I couldn't live by myself. So I had to have my mother move in with me because I just could not, because my bedrooms were upstairs. I couldn't, get up and downstairs by myself. Just bathing, taking a shower, like I had to have assistance, just doing everything that I was used to doing by myself for 20 something years. So literally I go home in a wheelchair with a walker, and I had a shower seat or whatever you call it. So I have all these devices that clearly I had never used before. I never had to use. So that was pretty devastating. Very devastating, because after being in the hospital for a month, I'm still not, I was like, I've been in the hospital for a month. I want to leave out back to normal, and that wasn't my story at all. It just was not my story. So I get home and I'm having to do things differently. Like I can't cook for myself. I can't, I'm having to learn how to do things in a very, very, very different way. And that's hard for me. I'm very independent. Very independent. Sometimes probably too much. My mom would say, like, you don't have to do everything by yourself. But that's just me. That's just organically me. It's just who I am. So it was the mental part for me. It wasn't necessarily the diagnosis. I didn't care about the words. I didn't care about MS. I didn't care about multiple sclerosis. It was the mental for me. Like, that really messed me up. Not that I have this. It wasn't, oh, you have this disease, there's no cure for it. It is, you're dealing with these symptoms, and you can't just go about life how you're used to going about life. That's what really messed me up. That was the hard part, because I can't walk up and down my steps. I can't go in the basement and wash my clothes. I can't just randomly get up because I feel like it's 11 at night and I want to go cook some macaroni and cheese. I can't do that. That was really hard for me. So there was a big adjustment. So even though I was out of the hospital, I had to go through physical therapy. It felt like daily to me. I don't remember how many days a week, but it was a lot of days a week. And the point of it was, of course, to get me back to being able to walk on my own, just being able back to walk. One of the things, when I went to physical therapy in the hospital for that month, because that was a major part of what I did in the hospital every day, was going to therapy, they asked me what my goals were. And my goals, I'm very short, if y'all can't tell from this, like I'm super short. So I literally wore heels to work every day. Every day of my life I wore heels. And other people say that's not good, but hey, that was my story. I did not own gym shoes. I think I had one pair of gym shoes eventually, and they weren't like real gym shoes. They were like, my brothers called them like fake gym shoes, because they was like some Coach gym shoes, but to me they were gym shoes. So when they asked me what my goal was, I said, to wear my heels. And they laughed at me. Like, they laughed at me. They thought it was funny. They thought I was joking. I was not joking at all. I was dead serious. Like, that was my goal. I'm gonna wear my heels. Like, my shoe closet is heels. Like, what I'm supposed to do? Like, what do you wear with your clothes? Heels. Heels. So they told me, we're sorry to tell you, you're probably not gonna ever wear heels again. And I laughed at them and I said, y'all lying. Anyway, so next, let's just do this therapy, because you're not gonna tell me I'm not gonna wear heels again. So I had to go through therapy, and I graduated, y'all. So I went from a walker to a cane. And you couldn't tell me nothing. Like, I literally was like, I'm too legit to quit with this whole cane. And for me, that was because that was progress, right? I wasn't settling for it. I wasn't happy with it. But to me, all I could see at the end was me without the cane. I mean, they tried to have me buy a fashionable cane. And I was like, for what? What I need that for? That's a waste of money. You want to buy me a pair of heels? Because that's where I'm going. I'm not going to the fashionable cane. Yeah, I'm cute or whatever. Like, I don't need the cane to match me. We good, because this is temporary. So, of course, I ended up getting off the cane. So I'm like, yes. And my thing was, I'm not going back to work until I am off all of walking assisted devices. That was my thing. So I finally get back to work, and praise God, this ain't got nothing to do with it. Like, I went back to a promotion, y'all. That's what I'm telling you. That's why I love God. Like, literally, I went back to work to a promotion. Like, I was assistant to directors when I went out of the hospital. During the time I was in the hospital, the vice president assistant, she got a promotion, and he literally held that job for months for me. Months for me to get back. That's like unheard of. Like, I went back and he literally held that position for me. Clearly there are other assistants there, people applying for the job, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what he did, but he made it work, and he held that position for me. So that was just a blessing along the way. Even though I was going through hell, there was still, heaven was still open for me in other ways. So I go back to work and everything's normal. I'm feeling good, and I'm on this medication. Well, with this medication, unfortunately, the first one that I started off with, I had to give myself, and many people didn't know this. And let me just say, this video, my family, 11 years later, my family who's watching this right now, like, this is their first time even knowing this story. They don't even know. They're just finding this out with everybody else, most of my family. So I literally had to give myself injections. Like, I think the first medication I took, I had to give myself injections once a week, and I just kept getting sick. I kept getting symptoms. So they said, well, we need to switch it. So I switched to another injection one, and that one was like 5 days a week. I don't know, it was something. Nope, still kept getting sick, and they're like, technically, ma'am, there's only 2 types of injections that we use to treat MS. You've tried one from each, but to humor you, we'll let you try another one. And it didn't work, y'all. It did not work. Like, I was literally like, this ain't working. Ain't. Yes, I said ain't. It was no bueno. It wasn't good at all. So I kept getting sick. So I'm like, what now? They're like, well, we're gonna have to do something a little more aggressive. I'm like, okay. So we go to the more aggressive drug. Nope. And this is over a period of years. So, we're talking about from 2008, from April 2008 to September of 2012. I literally went through, I think 5 different medications for MS. So we finally get to the last medication. So I had did Rebif, I had did Copaxone, I can't remember the third injection I tried, and it was some other drug. And then we finally got to, what was it? I got to Tysabri. Tysabri was my friend. Tysabri was, you had to get it intravenous, so I would have to go to the hospital once a month. And was it once a month? I think it was once a month. I'm pretty sure it was once a month. And I had to get it through IV, and it would run over, an hour or 2, and that's it. Well, Tysabri is actually a chemotherapy. So, even, I'm gonna be honest, I think even my grandparents, they didn't know, and it's not a thing because we talked about this years later. They knew I was getting this injection, and they knew that I was feeling better than I had felt in some years at that point. But they didn't know it was a chemotherapy drug. I kind of just kept that to myself because I didn't want to scare them. Throughout this, I just have been, even though I'm going through it, I always was trying to just protect my family, because when you're going through something like this, your family and your friends, I feel like my friends are my family because they are that close. They go through it with you. So I was doing this once a month, and I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I had no issues. Like, I was cool with it. Like, I was managing. I wasn't sick all the time how I was. I wasn't losing feeling in my legs and all that craziness. I wasn't having those issues. Well, to take Tysabri, before you can take it, you have to take this test, and they have to test you for the JC virus. JC virus, if you are positive for it, one, they won't let you take it. Luckily, I was negative for it in the beginning, so I could take it. If you're positive for it, what that means is that you can have a disease called PML. I'm not going to try to pronounce the full name of it for y'all. Y'all can look that up and try to pronounce that. But it's, PML is what they call it. And in short, it is a brain disease. It's a brain disease infection that you can get, and there's no cure for it. You die. That's how they told it to me. So that's what I'm saying. It's literally that blunt. There's you can die from it. Okay. So at this point, a couple years have gone by, and I've been on this drug. Well, Sequoia loses her job, so I have no insurance. So I couldn't take it anymore. Well, I get off of that, and they have this drug program, however, that will help people without insurance. But I couldn't take Tysabri, but I was approved for another drug. Well, that drug didn't work so well. It wasn't as bad as the other ones, but it wasn't working as Tysabri did. So now it got to a point between 2012 and 2014. I was in and out of the hospital being admitted. It ramped up to a point where on average every 60 days, I could go 60 days at most without having an MS exacerbation or episode. For me, what that looks like is me not being able to move my leg or legs, plural, it being numb from, say, my waist down. It's numb, it's tingly, it's cold, like very cold. It would just feel like my feet and my legs were in buckets of ice. That's just what it felt like internally. At this point, I had started getting optic neuritis, which is what most people have in the beginning. So with optic neuritis, it's the inflammation of your optic nerve, and it affects your vision. So it's not like, oh, let me just go get a pair of sexy specs. Now, it don't work like that, because if it's an inflammation of your optic nerve, glasses don't fix it. They don't help it. So I kept getting these episodes, and in order to treat the episode, they have to give you a high dose of Salumedrol, which is like a high dose steroids, like the highest you can give somebody. Well, it's not good to just keep getting steroids all the time. Like, steroids aren't meant to be treated like that. So at this point, they're just pretty much like, ma'am, you're done. Like, it's nothing we can do for you. Like, it just is what it is. Like, we're not gonna keep giving you these steroids. You just gonna basically, like, I felt like they just become a freaking invalid and just deal with it. Like, oh well, that's what people with MS do. So it just got to a point where I was like, I feel like y'all are killing me. And I mean that. I just felt like I was set up for a slow death. And those were things, I carried all of this internally. Well, MS is triggered by stress. But, it's just certain things, me being protective and being independent. I couldn't articulate that to my mom. I could not articulate that to my brother. I couldn't articulate that to my grandparents. I couldn't articulate that to my friends, because I could look at them. They were trying to camouflage it. I get it. They were trying to be strong for me. But I saw the concern. I saw the hurt. I saw the pain that they were going through. They probably don't know that, but I saw it. So I, in return, am trying to protect them. So I never said that to them. But that's how I was feeling. I'm like, these people are like, they're trying to kill me. Like, I'm going to die because they don't care. They're just trying to milk all the money they can and streak it out. That's how I felt. And I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm going to keep saying no disrespect to doctors, but that's how I felt. This is my story. So throughout the years, it got to a point when I started asking them, I said, is there anything natural I can do? Like, is it anything holistic? Oh, no, that won't work. That won't do anything. No, that's not proven to do nothing. I'm like, well, can I try something? No. So for years I was told no. I was told take vitamin D because we don't get enough sunlight. That's what they told me to do. That's the holistic thing they told me to do. Well, folks, I'm from Michigan. That's up north. Nobody. We all are vitamin D deficient in Michigan. Like, that's a fact. Like, all of us are. We don't get enough sunlight. So, of course, I'm going to take vitamin D like everybody else. Okay, maybe I need a little more because I have MS, but you can't tell me that's the only natural thing I can do. But that's what they told me. And I said, well, what about changing my diet? What about stop eating things? I don't know. I got feelings. Can we take the mercury out my mouth? Like, can we do something? And I was told no for years. So after going through all the medications, I was seeing this one particular doctor, and this is at the point now, it's like every 60 days now I'm in the hospital. And we go to this appointment. This was my last appointment with her. And I remember I asked my mom for, I said, why don't you come to this appointment with me? So she goes to the appointment with me, and we're back there with her. And I asked her that question again, and she's like, well, so about a month before that, she had asked me to look up this other medication. She's like, this is the only other medication. It's newer, it's on the market, but literally this is your last bet. Like, this is the only other medication you can take. You've tried everything else. I'm gonna need you to take this. And what I had been debating on for so long, well, I really wasn't debating, I just was stringing her along. The side effect of this particular medication was cancer. Cancer, y'all. This lady said the side effect of this medication was cancer, and she thought that I was just going to agree to take it. Ma'am, you just told me that the side effect is cancer.